Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to be demoing Pushkin today. Um, so if you're doing lots of online studies, obviously you need an experiment, right? So here's an experiment. But there's a bunch of other things you need. So you need someplace, hopefully reliable, safe, and secure to store the data, like a good database. If you are used to doing Amazon Mechanical Turk studies, that doesn't sound so hard. Once you start talking about potentially very, very large numbers of subjects potentially participating at the same time, having databases are often the bottleneck and will cause your website to crash. Speaking of, you need a website, right, to put these experiments on. I mean, you can do, just a page that is just say JS-like experiment. But usually, if you're trying to have steady traffic to your project, you're going to have some sort of website for that. I'm just going to have different stuff on it. Well, it's obviously a list of experiments people can participate in. But maybe you have like a findings page, so people can find out about what's been learned through the experiment, through the project before. You may want other things to make this more engaging for people. So here's the music lab has this nice feature here. How many people have already done this experiment? Which obviously you don't want to be editing the HTML by hand after every single person participates. You may want to do other things. So generally, the way you get so the sort of like standard model for getting large numbers of people for sort of like quiz type experiments is to give them some sort of feedback. So here's an example where we were trying to guess people's dialects of English and native languages based on their responses to a grammar quiz. Obviously that is something that needs to be put together. And also you notice the social media icons. You want to like let people share your experiments for you. This is how. So historically, something like 90% of the traffic that I've ever gotten to my website has been through word of mouth. So newspaper articles or whatnot are nice, but ultimately they're not as important as likes on Facebook. If you're doing something more sort of crowdsourcing system sciencey, you may want to have things like badges, like a contribution leaderboard, sort of project status, how close is this project to being done. Other things that are super helpful and sort of the more other things that have been shown to be helpful are having an active forum. We heard about that in the first day from the Zoomers folks from Pushkin. But again, that's something that you need to actually build or have in some way. Also, you may want to have persistent logins, right? So if you want people to track people from experiment to experiment, so you would like to be able, you're like, well, maybe some portion of my subjects will have done 2 experiments on the site. It'd be nice to basically treat that as like a subject did both experiments as a separate data set, so you can look at your correlations between the tasks or whatnot, and do that if that's some way of letting them log in. And especially if you want to do longitudinal studies, you want people to come back. The other thing that may not immediately come to mind is scaling. So these are visitors to my website in 2018, and you will notice something that is very, very typical of the massive online sort of experiment website. So the graph looks very similar for Test My Brain or Lab in the Wild or whatnot, which is most of the subjects come on a small number of days. And handling those peaks is, it's not exactly, I want to say non-trivial. It actually is trivial with like the right technology, but you have to know about it and incorporate it. So last thing I want to say so Pushkin is, I guess, like a broader project, is like a project to make it easier for you to do all the things, all of those things that go beyond just presenting stimuli and collecting responses. So as the other Josh already mentioned, you could use Pushkin with any JavaScript-based experiment engine, but we recommend personally use JS-like. job of, again, the stimulus notification and data recording, and Pushkin is both the back end and I guess like the side end. I don't know what the right term is here for all the stuff that's on the on your website that is not the experiment itself. A little bit about the name, which I think will help explain both what I'm going to cover in the tutorial and really how the project works. Is I'm curious how many people know who Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin was? All right. Oh, good number. All right. So the illusion that I'm making here is that he, deliberately created a literary language for Russian, in which there had been some writing, but not a huge amount prior. There's just like lack of tropes and genres, et cetera, and he developed those. So think of it as like a very early open source project. And that is really our model here. We're not trying to be a one-stop shop sort of like piece of software like ePrime, partly because I've seen people try to develop this for method online experiments going back, over 10 years. And it's very, very hard to build something that is plug and play is what everybody needs. Whereas, the most successful projects I've seen, like JS Psych, are what's successful about them is they're extensible. So there's enough there that is worth building on top. But if you have, a specific piece of functionality you need, you can add to it. So the Pushkin is a collection of tools. The hope is that we're developing a sort of open source ecosystem where people will build more tools on top of that and add to it. So what we do have, what I will be demoing are some templates, sort of like quick start templates for you to get, up and running with, a website and an experiment. But in terms of actual use, there's lots of interlocking pieces that you can pick and choose from and add to as needed. Last thing to say about that is we are, now that we're finally doing like a real sort of public release, we are also anticipating providing lots of support for people who are trying to use Pushkin. Not the next 2 weeks, but in January 3rd when my developers start. All right.
So we've structured this so that you can go to volunteer science in the morning and then Pushkin in the afternoon. Yeah.
Actually, it's like,
sorry, JS